Hey guys, what's going on? This is the conservative speaking, and I want to speak about the latest homicide victim who was a journalist and who supported the very person that is responsible for the homicides running rampant in the city of Philadelphia. so, and this source is from the Western Journal. It states that journalists killed in his home after downplaying crime under Soros funded DA. The Soros funded DA that we are speaking about is Larry Krasner. Now, Larry Krasner is famously known for letting out dangerous criminals that were already in jail and refusing to prosecute violent crimes until it reaches to the point where the public where there would be a public outcry to where he would have no choice but to prosecute. But Larry Krasner will wait until a violent crime escalates to the point where the crime is so egregious that it affects the community as a whole. So to put it in latent terms, Larry Krasner will wait until the quote shit hits the fan before he decides to prosecute, which is the reason why Philadelphia initially had a recall uh, for his uh, for his district attorney position. So without further ado, let's go into this so that we can be able to discuss this in whole, because there is a lot to speak on when it comes to this matter, and I will get into that as soon as we get into this particular story. A Philadelphia journalist who weeks ago disputed reports that crime was rising in the city was shot dead early Monday. Looks like looks look It's that lawless land of liberals in Philly where shootings are dropping to levels not seen in years. Oh. We are dependent on national trends, for better or worse. It's unfair to blame local cops for rising crime, inaccurate to credit with Josh Kruger had posted on X in July. So let's speak about this. Prior to prior to his homicide, Philadelphia was already sitting at 328 homicides in this city as of September 30th. Now, the statistics wants to show that there's been a 19% decrease in crimes committed at that particular point. But I have a question to ask my fellow audience. If you have 1,000,000 tons of human waste syphiling in your room, and 19% of that happen to be shoveled out of your room, does it really make a significant difference in the amount of human waste that is still in your room? I wouldn't think so. Let's go back to what homicide is. Let's go back to the definition. In latent terms, a homicide is a definition of an intentional act to take somebody's life. If you have one homicide committed in the city of Philadelphia, that is one homicide too many, because a homicide is an act where someone intentionally takes your life, meaning the event should have never happened in the first place. Hence the reason why we call homicides senseless, because there's no reason for it. You cannot make an excuse for intentionally taking somebody's life. So to argue that there's a 19% drop in the homicide rate compared to last year is equivalent to putting 1,000,000 pounds of human shit in your room and shoveling 19% of that out of the room.
It doesn't matter because you're going to walk through a heap of shit, let alone be covered in shit.
For all the people that are claiming that there's a decrease in this in the amount of violence in this city, why don't you ask the very people that live in these neighborhoods where they are directly affected by the senseless acts of violence committed by angry people? Why don't you ask them? But of course, nobody is going to ask them about how this truly affects them because nobody cares. All right? The mainstream media doesn't care. All they want to do is put out the narrative that Philadelphia is safer than you think until you actually live in that city, and then you will find out for yourself that all the statistics in the world, which is people trying to live out of their anecdotal ideology, doesn't beat the pragmatic stance that senseless acts of crime are being committed by deplorable, despicable people who live in the city of Philadelphia. Amazing. So let's move on. So, by the way, here's a picture of the 329th victim in Philadelphia. Amazing. So his name is Josh Kruger, and he was shot 7 times outside of the steps of his own home. Deputy Police Commissioner Frank Benor said police believe Kruger was shot at the base of the stairs inside his home at about 1:30 a.m. according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. After the shooter left, Kruger went outside to summon for help, and I'm sure he didn't get it. And I'm even going to go as far to say that this man, who, by the way, claims to be an activist, we'll get into that a little bit more, but this man was shot and killed by the very people that he took a stance for, because that always happens. It always happens. Keep in mind, this guy stood up for homelessness, and I am going to make a bet that whoever the perpetrator was either homeless, or was black, or was both. Either the door was open or the offender knew how to get the door open, he said. We just don't know yet. The Inquirer wrote that unnamed sources believe the shooting was either the result of a domestic dispute or drug related. Well, that would make sense. Josh Kruger is a homosexual, and I'm sure that this crime was committed, and I'm sure that whoever did this personally knew him, and more than likely could have been a homosexual partner of this man, or it was also known that this man was a drug addict. So it could have been a homicide committed that was drug related. I can see this going either way. I know the media wants to make this guy look squeaky clean, but keep in mind this was a guy that was a drug addict, and this was a guy that is supposedly a homosexual as well. So he could have been murdered out of a so-called rage of love, which I just call nothing more than a rage of lust. So this man could either been murdered by a rage of lust, or he could have been murdered based on a drug deal that went south. It reported that text messages from a former partner had been found that were classified as troubling. So, yes, I believe this man is a homosexual. Kruger's website boasted that his experience with homelessness, addiction, HIV, poverty, and trauma infused his work, which took a liberal bent. So, so obviously, this guy was an activist for homelessness, addiction, HIV, poverty, and trauma, as if somebody told him to become homeless. You usually do not get the entire story, but in America, um, most people who are homeless choose to be homeless. And I can bet my bottom dollar that this guy chose to live on the streets as opposed to being on the streets due to unforeseen circumstances. Along with everything else, addiction, HIV. I mean, all of these are personal choices that he chose to make. Journalist Andy No noted Kruger's stance on crime in the city and his support for Philadelphia District Attorney Larry Krasner in his post about the killing. Let's see. Kruger has long downplayed gun violence in his city and publicly chastised others who spoke about it. So this was a guy that was living in his anecdotal ideology, thinking that, oh no, this is nonsense. There's no such thing as rising crime in Philadelphia. This is the same person that supported, I'm sure, supported blacks from being unjustly arrested for violent crimes. This was one of the guys that supported criminals. So why in the world would a criminal want to turn around and take his life? Because people, that's what criminals do. And when you support people that are in position of power, like Larry Krasner, who support criminals, then that's the type of mood that you're going to get in the city. People who support criminals, who refuse to hold criminals accountable for their actions, are going to live in a criminalistic area. It's like the chickens coming home to roost. When you create a perfect storm, like Larry Krasner did, and like how Josh, what is this guy's name again? Josh, I already forgot. Josh Kruger is supporting, then you cannot get upset when you get caught up in the perfect storm. Amazing. After claiming that Philadelphia was safe under a Soros DA, Josh Kruger was murdered in his home. How ironic. The chickens coming home to roost, and they roosted right in front of his doorstep. Now, unfortunate situation, obviously, but this was brewing. This was brewing. Okay? This was going to happen sooner or later. This was a guy that supported criminals, and then the criminal winds up taking his life. The irony of it, you cannot make this stuff up. You really cannot make this up. The Post referred to Krasner, who elected Philadelphia District Attorney in 2017 after George Soros put in about $1.7 million in his campaign. Okay, so basically, what happened here is an activist who supported criminal behavior, deplorable behavior, winds up having his life cut short by a deplorable. Amazing. So once again, this just goes to show you that if you are a liberal, living in your anecdotal ideology does not equal pragmatic results. Because while you may feel that certain people should be let free to do whatever they please, that will always be counterproductive and counterintuitive to this society. And now the very person that supported these criminals now becomes Philadelphia's latest statistic when it comes to homicide victims. And I wouldn't be surprised if this person that murdered him was black, considering the fact that blacks kill twice as many whites as whites killing blacks. Would not be surprised at all. Amazing, guys, but let me know what you guys think of the matter. Leave a comment. Leave a comment in the comment section after you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Click on the like to like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my YouTube channel as I will be able to provide you content on the double. Also, when you subscribe to my YouTube channel, click on the notification button so that you'll be notified when new content drops on my channel. And with that being said, this is The Conservative, and I'm signing out. Stay safe and don't be a liberal. Do not be a liberal. Liberals are betas!